Good morning. Welcome to a special weather optics video. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. And of course, the topic of the day, once again, is Hurricane Irma, which is a very powerful Category 5 hurricane with winds of 185 miles per hour, gusts over 200 miles per hour. The pressure is down to 918 millibars. Earlier, it was down to 916 as it moved over the islands. It's been fluctuating here and there, which is normal with the eye wall replacement going on. It is moving to the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. And it looks like it's just going to pass just far enough north of Puerto Rico, but still, Puerto Rico and pretty much any island in the path of this storm is in for a rough time, as we're seeing some very impressive storm surges over 12 feet. It is just a mess out there. And unfortunately, this storm is going to be moving into very, very favorable conditions to at the very least maintain its strength, if not strengthen further, as it moves into some very warm waters here to the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. So what do we have evolving here? Well, take a look at the radar here. This is really interesting. Normally, when you take a look at these tropical systems, you'll see a formation of an eye wall, sometimes a partial eye wall, something of that nature, but you usually do not see these reds and oranges and yellows wrapping around the entire circle of the eye wall. Usually there's one part that is especially strong compared to the other. In this case, that's really not the case at all. I mean, this is a fully developed, fully matured, textbook hurricane of a Category 5 nature that probably will go into record books and something that will be used for students to study in terms of what the potential can be in the Atlantic for these tropical systems. So here we have Puerto Rico, here San Juan, Carolina, and you can see right here is the center of Irma, and Irma is tracking just far enough north to pass to the north of Puerto Rico. But still, as you can see, it's already starting to get some of those outer bands rotating through, and unfortunately, it's going to get clipped, especially on the northeastern side of the island with the eye wall, and it's just going to be a very rough time out there. So, yesterday we discussed the potential of this storm moving further north than the National Hurricane Center forecast, and what the potential may just be. Right? We discussed last evening with our WeatherOptics update on why the Carolinas is still in game. Lo and behold, last night, all the model guidance came out, including the European guidance, and they all shifted east. Now, why did this happen? Was it magic? Was it something that, clairvoyance? No. It comes down to this simple fact. The model guidance got sampling of this shortwave right here that we've been pointing out for the past couple of days. And when it picked up on the potential of this shortwave, and by the way, the models are not done yet with catching up to this evolution. It picked up on this shortwave, and it showed that this shortwave was going to dive south through the plains into the Tennessee River Valley and start to cut off and form an upper level feature, what's called an upper level low, starting at 250 millibars and working its way down in the atmosphere. And that feature leads to a weakness that basically develops along the Florida coast and right up into the Carolinas. Now, this is a powerful hurricane, and it's creating its own environment. So it's going to take quite a tug to get this storm to move north. The thing is that this disturbance is strong enough that it's going to be able to do that. And that's why we're seeing the shift in the model guidance, and that's why we're not seeing this hurricane being forecasted to move into Cuba or head down towards the Keys, but instead move through the Bahamas, which is in for a world of trouble. If anyone's out there in the Bahamas right now, please, if you can evacuate, I would do so, or at the very least, get prepared as best as you can. I certainly wouldn't be vacationing down there. I actually got some questions about that. No, do not vacation in the Bahamas over the next week. That'd be a very bad idea. But this hurricane is going to be running right into this shortwave. And when these two clash, it's going to force our hurricane to turn northward, likely skirt the Florida coast, and head right into the Carolinas. From there, we'll have to see exactly how it's going to interact. There's going to be some very dry air in place over the northern mid-Atlantic and southern mid-Atlantic, and how that tropical moisture interacts with that dry air, it may lead to the ability of Irma rapidly weakening after it makes landfall, which would be great news. Of course, there's also that outside chance that the shortwave and Irma interact in such a way to remain along the coast into some sort of a hybrid storm. So we'll watch that very carefully for the middle of next week for much of the mid-Atlantic going up into New England. So we'll watch that very carefully. But hopefully, under the best case scenario, of course, would be that it just remains out to sea, but that does not look like it's going to be the case with this size of a storm. But it would be great if that did happen, but it doesn't look like that will happen. But we'll watch that very carefully. And just to kind of show you what's happening on the European guidance here, since this model was, a lot of people like to follow this model, and a lot of people like to focus on it. And so take a look at what happens here. Why does it turn further north? See this feature right here? That's what does it. And the model guides are starting to pick up on that feature, and it's coming in stronger and stronger with each run. And so the turn is faster and faster. It comes right up the Florida coast and right into the Carolinas. So basically, the WeatherOptics idea right now is that our very powerful hurricane continues to move to the north of the Greater Antilles, to the north of Puerto Rico, to the north of Hispaniola, to the north of Cuba, and right into the Bahamas. And then it starts to turn northward, very close to the Florida coast, and heading up towards the Carolinas. And then we'll watch and see what happens from there. You can trust in the WeatherOptics team to keep you ahead of this dangerous storm. Remember, this storm is very complicated. There's a lot to watch here, but don't worry, we'll keep you ahead of this storm. Thank you, and stay safe out there.